Bonjour! Oh, no. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Emma and my channel is called The Vlog Lady. Amongst other things, I talk about Twin Peaks, which I'm going to talk about today. So last week I broke my finger. All I can say about that is be careful in the woods, everybody. Don't go falling into ravines. You know, it's one of those things that you can't do anything about. You just have to stare at it and wait for it to heal. And really, it came to my mind that it kind of felt like being stuck in the Black Lodge. What torture it must have been for Agent Cooper to have been in the lodge for 25 years. And then it occurred to me, actually, it probably didn't seem like 25 years to him because... Well, let's get into it, okay? Today, I'm specifically going to talk about the effects of the Black Lodge. And I mean this in a variety of ways. And I think the best thing to do is to start with the simple things. So we can assume that the lodge, or the lodges, if you like, both lodges, have an effect on people's physical bodies. So for instance, when the lodges are close to opening in the second season, we see Agent Cooper's hands start to shake. And we also see this in The Return. We might attribute that to the lodges. The lodges have an effect on people in a psychic sense. So we see in season 1 Sarah Palmer, who at the time we thought was just normal Sarah Palmer, being able to communicate with someone inside the Black Lodge. Whoever it was, Sarah Palmer seemed able to communicate with the Black Lodge. We also have instances like the Log Lady, the log being a sentient thing, as far as Margaret is concerned, suggests that the lodges may have imbued this sentience to the inanimate object. You know, Nadine's super strength is another one. Likewise, we see with, is it Jake, the green glove guy? He has super strength in that one hand. We have Wyndham Earle in the second season of Twin Peaks appear with a white face. Also we see Laura transform at one point when she's talking to Harold in Fire Walk with Me. Also, is that a manifestation of what the lodges can do to someone physically, psychically, emotionally. There were a lot of theories about season 3, The Return, in which a lot of people noticed that Twin Peaks was a very dark place now, and it wasn't just a secret underbelly anymore. It was like out in the openly dark. Terrible things happening in the town of Twin Peaks that we saw in The Return, and a lot of people questioned whether this was the influence of the lodges, and again I think that that's plausible. We could look at things like the zombie girl and ask if her sickness was caused by the lodge. We also see other sick people in season 3, such as Beverly's husband. And I'm wondering whether there is a higher degree of physical ailments in the town of Twin Peaks, whether that would be statistically truthful. I mean, I don't know, but I think, again, that's a plausible idea. And I think it's reasonable to say that because of the lodge's influence in Twin Peaks, that people's lives have taken on different paths than they would have normally taken. So, for instance, people who I see as denizens of the Black Lodge and their influence in Twin Peaks, their connection with certain characters in Twin Peaks has changed them to a degree. So we see, for instance, Stephen and Becky on drugs because Red is peddling them through the town. We see people like Kirsten, I think, would probably have been affected by living in Twin Peaks. In fact, if you look at all the characters in Twin Peaks, you could argue to some degree that perhaps they may have been influenced in a way that they don't realise by the presence of the lodges. But it's a very weird world that the lodges create, and that's probably where I'm going to stop discussing that part. And now I want to talk about like the effect of the lodges on people who actually go into the lodges. We know that when Cooper and Annie go into the lodge, that time works differently, or at least it seems to work differently. Now, when Cooper is inside the lodge, it just seems like a few minutes to him, and yet when Harry and Andy are waiting outside for Cooper to re-emerge, it's quite a long time. I think that, if I remember rightly, it like spans a day and Cooper is in there. To us, watching the lodge footage, it just seems like he is in there for a few minutes. I don't know if anybody has ever actually done a scale of that, like how long would it be if Cooper was in the lodge? How long would it seem to Cooper if that's how long it was to Harry? I mean, I can't work that out myself, but it means that for Cooper in his time during the 25 years he was in the lodge, then it wouldn't have seemed as long to him as it did to anyone outside of the lodge, anyone in the real world, which is probably a blessing to Cooper, because let's face it, if you were stuck in there for 25 years and it seemed like 25 years, you would lose your mind, right? I sometimes wonder if Flora Palmer, when she was whispering into Cooper's ear, you know, if she'd have whispered, "You've been in here for 25 years," what his reaction would be, and it's pretty much that reaction that he gives. Also, a lot of people, I mean, after season 3 ended, The Return ended, a lot of people had the theory that Cooper never left the lodge, and it was a theory that at first I thought, well, how does that work? How does that work? Surely they wouldn't have created an entire series where this was just all in Cooper's mind. And then I reevaluated that because of the fact that I thought, well, the alternative is that they created Dougie as a lead character. I mean, if you had to choose who was the lead character in Twin Peaks: The Return, would you choose Dougie or would you choose Mr. C? Because I think Dougie was the focal point for viewers because we knew that he was the real Agent Cooper. So I think Dougie was still always the lead character. And in that sense, you have to question why Frost and Lynch would create like 16 episodes of Dougie material when it was quite difficult to watch. It wasn't always hysterically funny. When you have a character who does not speak, who does not communicate, except for a few special moments when we glimpsed the real Cooper, that is so difficult. That is so difficult to understand. And yet, if you look upon it as Cooper never left the lodge, then that might be a better way of understanding it. Because if you think that this was Cooper in the lodge all the time, I mean, what does the lodge do? When Cooper initially went into the lodge played tricks on him. The lodge was teasing him. The lodge was having fun with him. It was like a house of fun, really, the lodge, the Black Lodge. And did that house of fun ever really let Cooper go? There was a specific moment in the original show when Hawk is talking to Agent Cooper, and Hawk tells Cooper about this spiritual journey that you have to undertake where you face your shadow self. It basically sounds like a test. That's almost what Cooper is subject to the minute he goes into the Black Lodge, a test. And if we think that season 3 could just be a continuation of that test, you have to ask yourself, when did he get out the lodge? Was the stuff with Dougie, was that him still in the lodge and undergoing more tests? We know that once you step inside that lodge world, that there are vistas, different kinds of vistas and environments that you can exist in. It is not all that chevron floor and red curtains place. It is way beyond that. world of the Black Lodge is way beyond that, and we know that. And we see that in season 3, and yet we think we've returned to the normal world when we get to the Las Vegas world, and yet have we? When Cooper emerges into the Las Vegas world, is he really still in the lodge and being tested? Is he being reawoken by the Black Lodge or by someone in the Black Lodge, possibly the one-armed man who is trying to get him out of there? It would make sense because of the fact that in the Las Vegas world, we see the Black Lodge everywhere. We see it in the casino above the slot machines. We see the Black Lodge appear in Janie E's house. We see aspects of the lodge appear outside of Dougie's workplace when the tree appears and tells, well, the tree, I mean the arm, appears and tells Dougie/Cooper to squeeze his hand off. Prior to this, we only see the Black Lodge appear at this one location in Glastonbury Grove. So why in the return do we see the Black Lodge featured everywhere? Why can't Agent Cooper suddenly see the Black Lodge everywhere? Is it because he is still in the Black Lodge and the world that has been created around him is a fictional one, is a virtual reality type world in which he is just being tested? And the reason why he could be being tested is because he is being restored to his self. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to try and get into that. If you think about Annie Blackburn, we know that she went into the lodge. We know that when she came out of the lodge, she was nothing but a shell. What happened to her? Where did she go? Was she just traumatized, or was she missing something when she came back? We know that she is unable to care for herself and institutionalized by the time that she is returned to the world. She never regains her intelligence, her emotional capacity. She is empty, basically. Did Mr. C bring Annie back before Annie had the chance to find her soul again? I'm wondering if entering the Black Lodge somehow removes the soul from the physical body, and when Annie was returned to Glastonbury Grove with Mr. C, he brought her without caring what state she was in. He didn't care whether she had a soul or not. He just wanted to use Annie as a front so that he could get out of, as Mr. C and get out into the world. But if the one-armed man wanted to help Cooper return to the world with his soul, then perhaps the things that Cooper went through as Dougie was a means of restoring his soul. So if you look at Dougie's journey, we see moments like Cooper looking at the flag, and Cooper having sexual reawakenings with Janie E. We see Cooper getting in touch with humanity again. We see Cooper, Dougie, I don't know what to call him. We see Dougie Cooper learning about the real character of humanity, I guess, with people like, and I can't remember his name now, the guy who tries to poison him with the coffee. There are a lot of lessons that Dougie learns before Cooper is reawakened, and I do think it's highly plausible. I mean, I think it's a very good theory that all of this takes place in the lodge. I can't explain what that means for the end of the show, whether the whole thing is in the lodge. I think it's fair to say that once you enter a lodge or enter into that world in any way whatsoever, you are never quite the same again. And I think that, there are just a few characters who have undergone that in Twin Peaks, which brings to mind the question, what about Andy? Because Andy visited what a lot of people believe to be the White Lodge, where he met the giant. Once Andy had that experience, he was very much inclined to look after Nado. He was touched, I guess, with a kind of psychic intuition that he knew that he had to do something good. It makes you wonder what would become of Andy in the future if this experience had a lasting effect on him. So I can't think of anything else right now to say about the effect of the lodges, but this video was not one I really thought about in depth. It's mainly because I can't do much right now with this broken finger, and I'm just like, you know, delving into the ridiculous corners of my Twin Peaks obsessed mind. So if anybody has their own ideas of the effect of the lodges or anything that I've said today, then you can leave your thoughts in the comments below. And you can also subscribe to this channel if you're interested in Twin Peaks videos, and you can follow me at The Vlog Lady on Twitter. Au revoir!